Hello and welcome. My name is Mark Blatstein, the physician founder of Physician Presentence Report Service. Welcome to my new website. This is about 2 weeks old. Physician Presentence Report Service. My email, drmb@pprcus.com. Phone number's up there. And it's a lot easier to use than my previous website was. I would say after 10 years, it had a refit. So today we're going to discuss what's foremost in the news, which is Sean Diddy Combs had his fall from grace, and this is a very big fall. He's in a world of hurt. 3 counts, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. He's got a racketeering conspiracy, which in itself is a big deal, trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, transportation to engage in prostitution. And his attorneys tried to get bail twice. And each time the bail was refused by judges, 2 different judges. And the second one was due to witness tampering possibilities. And similar here was what happened with Sam Bankman-Fried. And that got him locked up immediately at a federal detention center in New York, which is now where Sean Diddy Combs is at Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, which I'm going to go into, which is not a great place to be. So he's had a great career, and he could be facing a world of hope, a world of hurt. So I'm going to focus on, we can only hope that his lawyers are not going to enable, I would say, not be yes men or women. So far, his counsel or attorneys appear to be defending his actions, meaning that they are shining a light on what they feel is great behavior. He's selling off his assets. He sold off a plane, and he came from Miami to New York in appearance of surrendering to the court. And the attorneys have written this in this attempt to request bail, which is their job. But from a satellite view, from the prosecutor's perspective, this doesn't mean a thing. It has no value. The alleged conduct that the Department of Justice has been watching has occurred over a decade and in multiple states. In the multiple states, that brings it to be a federal crime. So, speaking from experience, going from a world, I didn't have his luxury, but going from a world of freedom and your ability to get in and out of a nice bed to solitary confinement and sleeping on a piece of steel, in solitary confinement in prison, layering on top of that the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, which has its own violent history, could humble the best of us. You're in another planet. Everyone is handcuffed, shackled. There's literally you don't get a chance to look at the sky. I mean, it's crazy. This brings on a new meaning of freedom. There's no fancy meals. You may get what we used to call chicken that was injected with steroids because it was so big, or bologna sandwich that have mold on it. Standing for count, washing dishes or washing toilets. He could be considered there a hero or a zero. People may want to, flock to him for his money or to abuse him. I'm confident that he can afford a great legal team. But when I was reading his attorney's motion to the court regarding being released on bond, I noticed at the bottom that there was a Park Avenue address. But guess what? Having a law firm with a Park Avenue address, it's kind of like hiring an attorney that was previously a white collar, prosecutor that became a white collar defense attorney. Just because they have a Park Avenue address, which is expensive real estate, doesn't mean they're going to be a great federal criminal defense firm. It just doesn't, especially when the client is definitely still feeling entitled, because money cannot buy you a great criminal defense firm. It can help, can't buy you freedom, as evidenced by what his attorney's conversations have currently been with the press or their motions with the court. Again, I reference their motion to the judge requesting their first motion, requesting the ability to be released on bond, showing that he spent that he's selling things to be able to post bond. It's just, the court's on a whole different planet. It's meaningless to them. And I'll go into that why later on. Of course, clients should be compliant and willing to participate in their defense. Going on, at some point, Mr. Combs may realize, or Diddy may realize, he may feel like the dog that eventually caught the car, because now he's got a problem. He's been doing things on his own for so long, be it with drugs, with women, with his businesses, that it's almost become routine and acceptable behavior. However, he's led his life for so long, he's been so wealthy, living in such luxury, and he's had yes people around him, that he's created his own environment, his own universe. And so all of a sudden, now what does he do? Like that dog in the picture, he's Department of Justice has interrupted his world. And they have once they've bitten into you, they have a 98% conviction rate. And now he's facing several life sentences. And they have demonstrated in their indictments with Elizabeth Holmes, SBF, Madoff, Jeffrey Epstein and others, that they get convictions. So why did the Department of Justice strongly want him not to get bail? After being notified that he was a target, he continued his actions. Not a great first impression with the court. Will he be eligible? Will he be eligible once he gets in prison? Once he decides on what he's going to do, he may be spending time in prison. Right now, he is not facing the fact that 98 people out of 100 wind up going to prison. Good time credits. Yes, he may be able to earn them, but he's going to have to earn his way down from a low to a minimum. But good time credits, everyone could start out getting them, but life sentence is not going to do much. First step back, earn time credits. He's not going to be eligible because there's violence involved. Drug program, you can take the program year off, not likely. Violence is involved. Even those with life sentences, there is positive news. Even those that have life sentences have been released for time served. Yes, there's life after prison. And so there are non-retroactive changes in the sentencing law that constitute extraordinary reasons. So there is the circuit judge, Diana Douglas, where they granted compassionate release sentences for someone that had a sentence of 292 months and they were released for time served. There's another gentleman, Andre Norman, who realized his impossible dream as he went from juvie to jail to maximum security to Harvard. These three individuals came from University of Washington, Seattle Magazine. Jenny Barton, mother of three, first-generation college student, had her sights set on becoming an attorney despite trauma-filled upbringing that led to her being incarcerated multiple times. She became a 2020 Truman Scholar, a highly competitive $30,000 graduate school scholarship. Another deployed as a soldier in the United States military. LaShawn was vigorously attacked by a group of fellow soldiers. After a drawn-out tribunal process, he returned home only to be arrested, convicted on marijuana charges. Now he's at Tacoma University. Painter, he finds himself meaningful work at a youthful community. But there are others. Once you go to this link here, there's multiple people that have gone through the system and have come out the other side successfully. Back to Sean Diddy Holmes, charged with sex trafficking and multiple other charges. They're prosecuting, let's see, I don't get ahead of myself. They're not prosecuting him on any alleged sexual abuse of women. They are prosecuting on the actual charges of racketeering, RICO, sexual trafficking, and transporting individuals over state lines to engage in prostitution. Criminal defense attorney Stacy Schneider. U.S. Attorney Williams said, as alleged in the indictment, for years, Sean Holmes used the business empire he controlled to sexually abuse and exploit women, as well as to commit other acts of violence and obstruction of justice. Today he's charged with racketeering and sexual trafficking offenses. This is a very big deal. Now, I mentioned initially that the attorney stated, his attorney, that he offered to self-surrender to the court in New York from Miami. Well, the feds didn't like that. They like to put on a show, if you will, and really come out very strong and put the fear of God into you. And so that's why they went ahead and raided his offices. No, they raided his homes. And I believe there were multiple locations that they raided. And they were, in doing this, they were able to get a lot of his electronics, phones, tapes, sex tapes, drugs, everything that they needed that they were able to confiscate. And what I believe irritated the court and the prosecutors was that even after he was notified that he was a target, he still continued on his activity. U.S. Attorney Williams continued that if you've been evicted of Mr. Combs' alleged abuse, or if you know anything about his alleged crimes, we urge you to come forward. This investigation is far from over. So he has been before the judge twice. On each time, the judge refused to let him out on bail. So he is going to be in MDC Brooklyn, not a great place to be. 3 counts to the indictment: racketeering, conspiracy, RICO. These are mob charges. Italian mobs for you that are younger. Carries a maximum of sentencing of life in prison. Sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, which carries a maximum sentence of life in prison and a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years. He is charged of running the COMBS criminal enterprise, where he's considered the leader, which under the United States Sentencing Commission guidelines, he's called the kingpin. This is a horrible thing to be considered. He is considered the kingpin, which he means he's a person in charge, which increases his security level. His employees now, assistant staff, were able to procure women, male sex workers, to engage in the performances for sexual gratification. Each and every one of these individuals now are going to be offered to cooperate. It's called a 5K1. Or the feds are going to tell them, we're going to charge you with a crime. So what are you going to do that you don't have the money that he has to defend yourself? You don't have, a $50 million house. And so every one of his employees and staff, or these women or sex workers, all these people who work for him, what would you do? I mean, they're going to say, you want to talk to us, or do you want to go to jail? Transporting or to engage in prostitution carries a maximum of 10 years in prison. Also, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Then the prosecution is going to the requesting the public's help. If you believe that you're the victim of a crime perpetrated by Sean Diddy Combs, please contact the sex trafficking outreach and their email via their phone number and reference the case. Free calls, electronically recorded, what they're collecting when they went into the homes, or all the electronically recorded devices. Each one of these is evidence. And on these electronic devices, everybody that was filmed having sex, that's not the crime, but they may have a charge against them unless they're going to turn evidence. All the narcotics, they're not worried about the drugs that are there, but all the suppliers and the mules, the people that went and got it, each of those persons are going to either be offered a 5K1 or they could be charged. All current or past staff, those that are either in his personal or business circle, may be asked if they're willing to cooperate. Again, this is a whole volume of people that are just going to be lining up to either, one, be charged, or two, cooperate. Each one of these is going to be like another little, I guess, puzzle that's going to be forming against Sean Diddy Combs. The government respectfully submitted this letter in advance to deny the bail. Why? Because they're saying the main concern is a crime that could happen against closed doors, even when pretrial services is monitoring him. This came in from the Southern District of New York. This is the photo of him. This is one of the civil cases of dragging this poor girl down the hall. Then Mr. Combs' attorney formally requests, this is the first request from custody for a proposed bail package. On Wednesday, Sean Combs' lawyers argued in federal court that he be freed pending trial. The prosecutors quoted that the alleged victim in alleging he tries to threaten and control witnesses. The judge said that Combs could send coded messages to obstruct justice. Again, Mr. Combs and Diddy didn't create a great first impression with the court, and now it's coming back to haunt him. Then when the judge ordered Sean Diddy Combs to go, when Sean's attorney then went for a second bail request, and again the judge denied it, and this time it was a $50 million bond package, and the judge ruled that he had to stay jailed ahead of the trial, and he's staying in the Brooklyn the Brooklyn lockup, the Brooklyn lockup at Medical Detention Center, Brooklyn. In the judge will let him stay there. Prosecutors argued his vast wealth and network could help him. Oh, the prosecutor argued that all his money he could flee if he wanted to. And he tried to bribe security and tamper with witnesses in the past. The prosecutor said the United States Judge Andrew Carter, presiding over the music mogul's criminal trial, emphasized the federal prosecutor's description of Combs' persistent and continuing attempts to intimidate witnesses and obstruct justice reportedly involved acts of violence. And then there was that video of security footage beating his partner, which I showed you earlier in the hotel hallway. Inside Brooklyn Federal Jail, where Diddy Combs is being locked up. So the Medical Center Brooklyn is a jail. It was opened in the 1990s, and a lot's been written up about it. I have YouTubed about it somewhat frequently, and it's used to detain individuals after arrest, awaiting trial in Manhattan or Brooklyn, additional housing inmates serving short sentences. In June, a 37-year-old individual was fatally stabbed in jail. A month later, a 36-year-old individual succumbed to injuries sustained in a brawl. Over 3 years, at least 4 detainees in the jail died by suicide. Judges and advocates have taken notice, criticizing the Federal Bureau of Prisons for dangerous, barbaric conditions, and urged the agency to make improvements. Some judges have stopped sending defendants to MDC Brooklyn or have given reduced sentences because of the conditions there. It's a frightening place to be. Federal Judge Furman, dreadful conditions and lengthy delays in getting medical care. Prosecutors no longer even put up a fight, let alone dispute that a state of affairs is unacceptable, Judge Furman wrote. It is the finding of this court that the conditions to which the defendant was subjected, this is a different individual, are as disgusting, inhumane as anything I have heard about any Colombian prison, but more so because we're supposing to be better than that. I think you've suffered triply as a result. I am convinced that no good can be served by keeping you incarcerated for 1 minute longer than I am required to do so by law. Judge Furman. Another Judge Brown. In August, Judge Gary Bond planned to change a 75-year-old defendant's sentence for tax fraud to home confinement if the BO transferred them to the Metropolitan Detention Center, Brooklyn. The Federal Bureau of Prisons then paused transferring convicted individuals to the jail. Currently, 43 people are serving sentences in a minimum security unit at the prison. COMBS is the most recent celebrity inmate to be housed at the Medical Detention Center at the at the MDC Brooklyn, joining a list that includes Maxwell, Kelly, Bankman-Fried, and the rapper Fetty Wap. And other notable detainees included pharma bro Martin Shkreli, sex cult founder Keith Raniere, former Mexican government official Luna, ex-Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez Alvarado, I believe. Assumptions, something you never want to do. That you'll surrender what he thought and what it wasn't made clear to him by his attorneys. That you'll surrender, make bail, get an ankle bracelet with GPS is risky, especially if you're a high-profile target. Your attorneys must refrain you from making any promises or giving false assurances. Their role is not to simply agree with you, but provide honest and potential difficult truths. This is crucial, as predicting a judge's decision is highly uncertain. What counsel does know that the Department of Justice has a conviction rate approaching 98% of those they convict. Judges, particularly in this instance, are inherently doubtful of any path, plea, or trial Diddy may take. They understand that crimes do not occur in a vacuum, and they are keen to hear from defendants about their life experiences and what brought them to the courtroom today. This places the responsibility on COMBS to acknowledge his actions and demonstrate sincere, genuine remorse for the harm he caused to his victims and the community. The challenge for his counsel, though, is that this may not be part of his current psyche, which leaves the 3 areas that I, as a non-attorney, feel should be addressed first. 1, it's surprisingly how many otherwise competent attorneys punt at the sentencing hearing. It's not me saying this. It's federal judge Patrick Schultz. 2, don't wait to think about sentencing advocacy, since 99% of federal clients will be sentenced or will face sentencing. Start preparing for sentencing early on. Federal Judge Robert Scalia. And I will open these. Actually, I'll open both these up right now. So you can see I'm not making this up. We'll wait and see how it comes from Alan Ellis. And this is where he brings up these. Actually, I should have psych evaluations. I'm going to touch on this. Make a. I'll touch on that in a minute. I should have outlined them initially. Okay, I didn't. And let's go back here. This leaves counsel getting Sean Diddy to agree to a specific type of comprehensive medical psych evaluation. And if he'll agree, then I have a specific one in mind. There's two strategic goals. He's going to either plea or go to trial. Which will you choose? And so this is a big deal because right now, the court, the prosecutor, and if it goes to trial, the jury is going to be very skeptical after hearing everything that we've just gone through about anything that'll come out of Sean's that he says. And if he pleads, he really has to have a come to Jesus moment in order to get the judge to believe him. So his attorneys really have to start planning for either plea or trial and then losing and then plea and falling on the mercy of the judge right away, in my estimation. But I'm not a lawyer, so I'm sure there's a lot I do not know. And so I know that there is a specific type of comprehensive medical psych evaluation that will help in this particular case. And I'm not the expert that I have in mind. But if you're interested, please give me a call. And my contact information is 240-888-7778. I hope you found this helpful. And I hope that if this message gets as far as Mr. Diddy COMBS attorneys, I'll be willing and would love to speak with you. Have a good day and stay safe.